It's going up without too much trouble tonight. That's good. Hello, everyone. Welcome as you come in. I'm Roy Potter, and I know it's Monday. I don't usually do this on Monday. However, I was just contacted by Roosevelt News Media, to give me an update on some information. Now, Roosevelt keeps a real close watch on financial events in particular, but things generally. If any of you follow Roosevelt on Twitter, you'll know what I'm talking about. Hello, everyone, as you come in. Hi, Walter. Hi, Neil. 5x5, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, I'm a little red because of my lighting, and my phone camera won't do a white balance. So, even though I am, I have to admit, I am having a little scotch. That's not what the redness is from, just so you know. Okay. Shalom. Yes. Happy New Year. Yeah. Well, we'll see how that turns out, right? Yeah. Okay. So let me get to the point. In the description box below are two links. One is to the actual video on YouTube, which I don't know how long will be up. Although I think because of the circumstances and the way it's presented, I don't think that the powers that be that are watching these things are really going to take notice or care much, because not a whole lot is really said. You have to understand the whole big picture in order to get the real impact of what's going on here. So there's that goes directly to YouTube. And then there's a link to Roosevelt's Twitter account. Now, those of you who do not have Twitter, don't fret. All you have to do is copy that link and put it in your search engine, and you'll go to Roosevelt's account where you can look at that post, because Roosevelt has some information there that helps to explain a little bit about what's going on. Not a lot, because Twitter will cause you a problem too. Now, I went ahead and retweeted Roosevelt's tweet, so it's also on Twitter, okay, under my account. So let me give you a little background about what's going on. And I have to talk a little bit between the lines here as normal, but I think this is important enough where I didn't want to do a video on Odyssey and then come on here and tell you to go to Odyssey. So let's just go ahead and, how you doing, D Express? So what's happened here is that the people that do the mathematical studies for insurance companies, they're called actuaries, and they run all of these things out to see what the costs are and what the profits are, and what the risks are and all of that. Well, it looks like the powers that be may have, I don't know if this was an oversight. I don't know if it was that they got a little too confident of themselves, or whether or not it was part of the plan. Well, certainly the outcome was part of the plan, but how some of these financial organizations would react, maybe it wasn't quite thought out well enough. So the bottom line is this. As of right now, the actuaries and the insurance companies are saying that there is a 40% increase in the death rate in 2021 over 2020, the year 2020. And they're going to try to blame it on you know what. But the fact of the matter is that even if you have the, like that, you're supposed to be protected. And at the very least, it's showing that you're not, right? So the bottom line is that we've seen all of the deleterious effects of these, and how people are having adverse situations because of it, right? Well, Scott Davison, who is the CEO of One America, which is an insurance company, has done the video. It's the first video in the link down below. And he says that we have the highest death rate ever. It's up 40%. And it's in the working age group of 18 to 64. Now, the importance of this is that the insurance companies are now saying, whoa, stop, what's going on here? We're having to pay out all these death benefits. We've seen the situation with coroners and with people that work in, you know, the death industry, funeral directors and things like that, talking about what they're seeing and yet is not being reported. Well, now it's hitting them in an area apparently of their pocketbook that they had overlooked, is apparently what it is. Or they're just, the powers that be are just saying, tough luck, we want to take down uh, the entire civilization anyway. Sorry, I'm a little tongue tied. Finances are not my thing, as most of you know, so I have to kind of think ahead of what I'm saying here. So basically, as Roosevelt was explaining it to me, is that this will further speed up the destruction of the financial system and civilization. And that may have been part of the plan, or maybe this is hitting the banks in a place where they didn't really anticipate, they hadn't really thought it through. At any rate, one of the other things that Roosevelt pointed out is that we're seeing a lot more professional health professionals on the mainstream media, especially on the conservative sites, which have been going along with this entire charade pretty much, but are now, and I'm not talking about, AJ and those, and even Joe Rogan. I'm talking about mainstream media are having these health professionals on, and they're saying that they're seeing these problems. So why this shift is occurring probably has a lot to do with, as part of the objective of the powers that be, and again, I'm not naming those here for a reason, to cause us to lose faith in our governments and in our systems. That's part of the program, and of course, our governments and the systems don't deserve our loyalty anyway. They have betrayed us to the nth degree. But the point is that this is now proceeding. So when you get an insurance company that's saying, "Oh no, run up the flags because we're seeing a 40%," and that's just as of at this point, a 40% increase in the death rate, and it's the highest death rate ever, ever. He says, go look at it, listen to it yourself. Again, it's the first link in the description box below. So this is this is really a war, ladies and gentlemen. It really, really is, and it pains me that people aren't waking up and seeing what's happening. I just had my grandson tell me that there's now a new rule that if you come down with this sneeze, that you have to stay home for 5 days. It's totally out of control. And I talked about this several years ago. You saw where this naval ship, everybody on board had the GMI, right? And yet they had a bunch of the people get sick, right? So they had to bring the ship into port. It's basically a combat vessel, and it's out of commission right now. So our entire military is being attacked with this thing, and we're being depleted, and it's just going to get worse. I can't believe, and I brought this up before. When I went through what was officer training, it was advanced camp for ROTC. I remember, it was up in Fort Lewis, Washington, and it's very damp up there. Where you're always in the rain, and even though it was in June, July, and August, it still gets pretty chilly, especially at night and especially in the rain. And a lot of people, a lot of the cadets were getting sick, with colds, and going to the infirmary, right, to the hospital. And the battalion commander, the major, the actual commissioned officer, the major, put us all in formation one morning, and he started yelling at all of us. Now I hadn't done it, but a lot of these other guys had, and he says, "Look, a cold is not a reason not to do what you're here to do. I don't want to hear anybody falling out of ranks because they have a cold. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir." You know how that goes, right? And now the wimpy little military, they go around, and they're scared to death, and they shut down an entire combat vessel. And SecDef Austin, who has had the full complement of the treatment, comes down with the sneezes, and his response is, "Oh, it would have been much worse if I hadn't had the preventative thing that doesn't work." So that's where we are. I wanted to come on because I think this is important. Roosevelt, this is a big break. Seeing this CEO come out and talk about the 40% rise in death, because now it corresponds, and it and it correlates with the information that we've been getting from a lot of these funeral directors, especially the ones over in Britain. And I'm sure this is worldwide. It's not surprising. We've seen what's happened to the athletes, members of our families, things like that. So this is very serious, and people need to hang. The people responsible for all of this need to hang. I'm very disappointed, of course, as I always say, and I might as well say this. AJ came out, of course, against Trump, but still not enough. And of course, he hasn't apologized to David Knight and probably never will. And as a result, AJ's going. I think he's going to lose some. Um, he's going down the wrong road, even now. But what bothered me is that I realize that Rand Paul is a medical doctor and is not calling this out for what it is, and neither is anybody else for that matter up there. They're all kind of hiding behind it for whatever reason. I say that if you submit to blackmail and extortion, you're a coward. Okay, so it doesn't matter to me what the reason is. The fact is they're cowards. But the point with AJ is that now he's trying to shift the blame from Trump to Rand Paul. Let me point something out to you. Trump was the commander in chief. Oh, he can't know everything. He can't know everything. It's his job before he starts doing something that can affect the lives of the American people to get as much information as he can before he makes a decision. Being the commander in chief, he's a military commander, and as such, the commander is responsible for all his people do and fail to do. So shifting the blame, even if Rand Paul may have been driving Trump down the wrong road, or not giving all the information for whatever reason, maybe because his wife has, as we found out, has some investments in some of these companies, and you read between the lines again. Whatever the reason, the fact of the matter is that Trump wanted this. This was his job to bring along the conservatives who would have refused to do all of this if Hillary had been in. Okay, and as we see now, with Biden. So at any rate, I don't want to get off in the weeds on that. The important thing here is, what does GMI stand for? Somebody tell Simulation 7 what GMI stands for. Simulation 7, there's some things we don't say on here because the algorithms and the watchful eye of the administrators will take a video down, censor it, or do any number of other things so that it'll cause me some trouble. And this one I probably should have put up on Odyssey, but I wanted to go ahead and get it out there as fast as I could. So that's what's happening. I wanted to cover that for everybody this evening and let you know that this is going to be bad. Remember, Deagle.com, which I realize is considered to be a conspiracy website, but it's based on a lot of information looking very much like Jane's. If any of you know about Jane's, it's a publication out of Great Britain. It's about military hardware and the expenditure of military hardware, etc. And they make these predictions. Well, just based on the Jane's information, Deagle.com is probably not too far behind. What did Deagle say? Does anybody know? Let's see if somebody knows what Deagle said about the United States. We could talk about the whole world, but what did it say about the population of the United States that's going to happen before 2005? Well, Deagle doesn't exist anymore. That might be because they'll take down anything they can. Yes, somebody said 99 million. In other words, the prediction is, and this will go along with some of the other publications, and of course the white papers and the New World Order and those things, they're going to reduce the U.S. population from 330 million to 100 million. We already have a 40% increase in the death rate over last year. wow. And it's not because of the sneezes. They're going to try to blame it on that, but regardless, it would still show that their preventative GMIs don't work at the very least, or and of course the other idea, of course, is they're actually responsible for a lot of this. All right, trust the actuaries. Yeah, at this point, and it's not that they didn't know before. Why they're allowing this information out now? It's probably because, like I said, the idea is to take down civilization, so it doesn't matter to them. Trump needs to be arrested. So does Fauci. All of them. All of them do. All of them do. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Truth bites? Yeah, it's 66.6%. Isn't that interesting? And of course, in the book of Revelation, it talks about a third of men would be killed, right? Right? So that leaves 666, right? So, I mean, this whole thing is just, it's crazy. It's all crazy. Mrs. Cat, what was that? Colonel Potter, Twitter. Oh, thank you for putting my Twitter up there, Mrs. Cat. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here, too. And I really don't have much more to say. I just wanted to come on and push this information out from Roosevelt. Thank you, Roosevelt, for keeping on top of these very critical issues. We can get caught in the quagmire and the weeds on so many different things, but these are really the indicators of what's happening, and I appreciate that so much. Well, I'd like to comment on that, Rolf Steiner, but it's probably better if I don't, right? Oh, thank you, Guck Guckmal Party. Stay safe. Greetings from Germany. I appreciate that. Things are going to get hairy here. Things are going to get hairy. And avoiding the real issues isn't going to help us at all. And there isn't one politician, not one person in a position of authority, not even Ron DeSantis, that's calling these GMIs out for what they are and what they're really designed to do. There's a person, maybe I shouldn't say the name on here. There's a person on my Twitter line that I follow, and they're a medical doctor. They kind of keep a low profile, but at any rate, they push all the time that people have got to start admitting that this is a bio. You get the rest of it, right? Weapon, right? Trying to divide that up so that the algorithm doesn't catch it. And I called that out the moment I saw this in early on. It was as soon as this whole thing started developing, I could see exactly what it was just from how it was being handled. And then, of course, with everything that came out, I even talked about the nose jabs, the test things, that they weren't just for testing, that they were for other things, maybe even implanting some of the quote unquote treatments, because that's how they take care of cattle. You know, they can use needles, but they also use those. And then there were the poliovax sugar cubes that you took orally back many years ago, many decades ago. So a lot of bad things are happening. They hate mankind, as I've said, which is why I've shifted. You know, I did a lot of political military commentary on the situation that we have, even science stuff. I've done things on quantum theory, a lot of those different things. But I've shifted from that to our personal lives, trying to get us to look back inside ourselves and not be so much into what's going on. We have to be aware of the enemy out here, but we've really been attacked in our relationships with each other, and we need to build those back up. And again, that's why I've spent so much time over the last 6 months, I think, talking about things in this. Okay, and particularly the relationships between men and women, because that's really the attack point. We're finding out now, of course, that there are problems with lowering of testosterone, of sperm counts, ovary problems, on and on and on. They're attacking our very, very nature, and they have been for a long time. Yeah, affects menses too, absolutely. The whole reproductive cycle. They hate the relationship between men and women, as I pointed out in a lot of my videos. And ladies and gentlemen, we need to repair that. We need to stop being drawn into the things that they put out there in front of us to pull us away from our search for intimate, close human contact, especially between men and women. We've got to do something about that, because that's that's our existence, and it's been maligned. It's been called sin. It's been called dirty, and all these things, even by Christianity, for many, many years. And you got to ask yourself why. Why did that happen? God said remember when Adam and Eve came out and they said, "Well, we hid ourselves because we're naked." There's a little clue here. We hid ourselves because we're naked. We didn't want you to see us naked. And what was God's response to them? Who told you that you were naked? Why would you be ashamed of what I've created you to be? You see, they do everything they can to destroy what we are. Now, yes, we have to use common sense. We have to use righteousness. We have to use integrity, honesty, not be involved in deceit and fraud. Yeah, of course. But outside of that, that's all that's really required. Let's see, what was this? Okay, yeah. Yeah, a lot of this I can't say, of course. You all know that. I'll stay on here a few minutes and sip some of my scotch. This isn't an expensive one. Of course, I don't have any expensive scotch. I think the most expensive scotch I've ever bought was probably $150 a bottle, something like that. And I only got one of those. So most of mine are they used to be in the $40, $50, $60 range, but with inflation and the cost of shipping and all that and manufacture over there, now I'm up to like 60, 70, 80. It's really frustrating. I don't have that much. I have maybe this much a night, maybe two, maybe this twice, and not every night. Not every night. This time of year, it helps people say it doesn't really warm you up. Oh, yeah, it does. Four Roses is good. Yeah, hi, Monica. Beach, yeah. Well, Four Roses is great. I like it. But I'm not much into bourbons. I mean, I'll get them. I even have some Jack Daniels here, and I have some. Let's see, what else do I have? I have Angel's Envy. I have a few Canadians. Actually, Black Velvet, their reserve, is very good. Actually, it's very good. Even though it's not real expensive, it comes in a fancy bottle. It impresses the ladies until they see it says black velvet on it. They go, "What?" Yeah, Woodford Reserve. I have some of that too, but my thing really is Scotch, and I have quite a collection of Scotch. I don't drink the good stuff. Oh, I cannot drink Evan Williams or Jack Daniels is awful. Well, yeah, everybody has different tastes. I frankly like Evan Williams myself. I think I like it better than most of the others, actually, and it's not as expensive. So I like Evan Williams. Yeah, it's okay for me. But everybody, has a different taste, right? Yeah, you're right. Ivraya Ja. Is that what that says? Ivraya Ya? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Glenfiddich. David Allen, Glenfiddich. I have Glenfiddich 14, Glenfiddich 15, and 18. After that, the price reaches a point of diminishing returns, as far as I'm concerned, to quality, and all you're doing is just you're trying to show off. I'm not saying good, the older ones, 20, 25 years and all that, but hundreds and hundreds of dollars for that little bit extra of, and I'm not even sure it's better quality. Nah, no thanks. you know, Tullamore Dew is good. I like Tullamore Dew. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I did a little taste thing here. Boy, and that light's just making me look like I'm sunburned. Again, it's probably this. You know, the colors that the camera has to adjust for that's in my phone will do these adjustments, and then actually I changed out the light. The light that was causing the problem before, I went ahead and I'm not going to use it anymore. I'm probably going to go buy a. You know, LED studio lights are way expensive. You know, these are they're 500-watt incandescent, and I tried using LEDs in them, but they weren't bright enough. But they make LED studio lights that would be like the softbox I had before that would really give me problems, you know. But man, I mean, an inexpensive one's $400, and if it goes bad, you don't replace the light. You have to buy the whole thing. And I go, well, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm gonna have to. Yeah, single malts, old devil. Yeah, I prefer single malts to blends. There are a couple of in scotches. There are a couple of exceptions. I'm not much into Johnny Walkers, but I do like Buchanan's. That's pretty good. I think they're all 12-year-old at least, and I really like those. Those are good. They even have a little bit of Islay in them, which is the smoky peat, uh, just slight in it. It's really good. So I like that. Macallan's good. I've got Macallan. I got Glenlivet. I've got um, oh, what's I always forget the name of it. Not one with the big stag on it. Uh, Dalmore. I have Dalmore. I have anyway. I've got a bunch of them. So, but I usually save those for special occasions. Lagavulin. Yeah, Lagavulin is an Islay, and it's like Lafroig or Ardbeg. Um, but I haven't bought Lagavulin. I've had it. I pretty much stick with Lafroig or Ardbeg, and in the 10 to 12 year range usually. Yeah, and and for those of you who don't know, Lagavulin, Ardbeg, and Lafroig, they're from the Islay areas, and they use peat to dry out. They fire up the peat, they burn that, and it's what they use to dry out the barley, and the peat taste gets into the barley, and so it's really smoky and phenol-y. I don't know how else to describe it. I remember the first time. As a matter of fact, I might as well tell you the story. So uh, I was just getting into Scotch, and I knew that Bettina, you know her as Nancy Morgan Hart of Headlines with a Voice, who of course died last June. I miss her a lot. She was there's no one like her. Felicia Lockhart's doing a good job there, but even Felicia admits, you know, Patina's a hard act to follow. But thank goodness Felicia's keeping the channel alive. But anyway, so I called up Bettina and I said, Bettina, you know, I'm looking to get another good kind of scotch. What do you suggest? And right, I mean, she didn't even hesitate. She said, definitely go get Lafroig. Go get Lafroig. And I thought, oh, okay, thank you for the tip. And I was at the liquor store, so I went in and I didn't know what I was getting. And I grabbed a bottle of Lafroig 10-year, I think is what it is. And, you know, I was real happy. You know, I have a new kind of scotch. And I got to the house and I didn't have it right away. I waited, I think, a couple of days, whatever. Finally opened it up. Whoa! Just opening the bottle, you go, what in the world? Because what it smells like is it smells like barbecued beef brisket. Can you imagine drinking barbecued beef brisket? Oh, and I was so upset that because the bottle at that time was right around $50, $60, something like that for a 750 milliliter. And I went, what in the world? Why did I spend my money on this? Well, because Bettina said to. But you know what? It grew on me. The more I had it, the more I liked it. And I use it as a mixer. Like, let's say this, you know, I'll take a little of this and I'll add maybe, you know, a teaspoon or so of Lafroig or Ardbeg, one of those Islay's to it. And it just gives a little extra flavor and kick and interesting flavor. So that's what I mostly use the eye lace for. Although I'll drink them straight too. Yeah, I'll do that. CR5, she's remembered. Oh, yes. Chivas Regal, I have some Chivas Regal Sandy, Aaron. Uh, it's not my favorite either. It's another blend. Like I mentioned, I think I like Buchanan's the most. And there's another one which I can't recall right now. Chivas Regal is well known. A lot of people enjoy it. But if I'm going to give somebody some scotch, it's not going to be Chivas Regal, just so you know. What was that about Lefroy? Oh, you like it. Stilgar the Freeman. You like Lefroy. Stilgar, huh? Are you from the Freeman? Are you from Scotland? Almost sounds like it. Looks like somebody got deleted for something. If Roosevelt deletes you, you've done something bad. Yeah. Welcome to the Roy Potter Scotch Hour. Oh, man, I wish I could show you my collection, but there's no way. I mean, it's big. It's big. Yeah, I got a lot of it. So I stocked up here about 2 years ago or so. And I replace what I drink, to some extent, not always. It's really gone up in price. Things have really gotten expensive. It's going to get worse. So if you're inclined to buy anything, I'd suggest you do it now. Once you go to single malt, the never blended works. Well, Aracal Toros. I agree with you to some extent. If I have a choice, I'll always go with a single malt. But I have a daughter that bought some Buchanan's just for me, and Buchanan's is okay. I mean, you know, if you get a cheaper single malt, uh, for example, I can't even think of one right now, but a cheaper single malt, sometimes Buchanan's a little better, sometimes than the cheaper. For instance, Glenlivet has a reserve that isn't even doesn't even have an age statement on it, and it's pretty harsh. It's actually pretty harsh. So if I were to be offered a Glenlivet Reserve with no age statement, even though it's a single malt, or a Buchanan, I'll probably take the Buchanan in that situation. Just so you know. Just so you know. You're having Bailey's right now, Edward? Yeah, Bailey's is good. You having it straight on the rocks, or are you mixing it with something? What is the situation with Lieutenant Colonel Clarissa Long? Good question. She was frocked, I think. They've come down on her for her testimony to Congress. She hasn't lost her or anything like that, but they're not treating her well at all. Uh, I think if I were her, uh, I would, and I don't know how this would work coming out of the military, but um, get licensed somewhere in another state that would be favorable to her, and I'd go out and I'd just start raising hell. But that's up to her. She's already done something very courageous, and it's just unfortunate that our officer corps is such a pammy whammy, uh, cucked. I better not say anymore. It's really disgusting. Our military is disgusting, and they don't mind shooting you down in the streets. And I've warned about that for many years. What the FBI has been for a long time, and I've talked about it, and people are finally starting to see it. The military has been well down that road as well, and I've been calling that out for years. Remember, what's the motto of my channel, ladies and gentlemen? What's the motto of my channel? The intelligence community is our most dangerous domestic enemy. That includes the DoD. Oh yeah, thank you, Roosevelt, for telling me that. I get the yak and then I forget. Roosevelt also informed me tonight that Kev Baker died about a week ago. Um, if you don't know who Kev Baker is, he's a podcaster out of Great Britain. I was on his show once. I've listened to him many times. He's somebody who would really get into the nitty gritty, kind of the Joe Rogan of Great Britain, I guess. But you could get his podcast here in the States. And yeah, he died And I don't know if he had the GMI or not. We don't know that. I wouldn't think so. But by the same token, uh, people are getting taken out now that are standing up and saying anything, and you know that. So who knows what happened? I'm not saying that that's what occurred, but regardless, Kev Baker did die about a week ago, and that's real sad because I think he was one of the stalwarts. But they're coming for everybody who speaks up against them. There's Felicia. Hi, Felicia. How you doing? Oh, thank you for taking care of that, Felicia. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's not good. And I can't see everybody's comments, of course. Fort Rucker, Alabama. Monica Beach. Are you seeing things going on there? Is that what you're saying? Fort Rucker. That's where Teresa Long was. She was a flight surgeon. Fort Rucker is the aviation school, and she was saying some problems were there with the getting the GMI, and of course, we had an airline pilots now who are really concerned, right, and rightly so. Everyone concerned, and that includes Trump, needs to go to prison. And those who have caused massive death need to be hung just like they did those at Nuremberg. I'm sorry. I have no respect, honor. I loathe Trump. I loathe him because he pretended to be something he is not. Wow. It looks like Liberty King, you're having spiced rum. That's pretty good too. That's pretty good. Nurse Gabby, I'm glad Alex and Mike are waking up Trump. I use love Trump until Operation Warp Speed. I don't think they're waking up Trump. I don't think Trump will change. There's an indication if you follow. I don't want to mention his name here because I don't want to get him in trouble. But he has put up a lot of videos over a number of years. Again, I'm not saying his name, and I'm sorry. This is probably better for him that I don't. He's former intelligence out of Australia. That'll probably be the giveaway. You'll probably know who I'm talking about now. And you know he does a really good job. He gets too much in the weeds. I think he does a disservice by that. Even he's just intelligent and he ties everything together, but he gets too far in the weeds and people lose sight of the overall subject that he's trying to get across. I think, but he's very good, and a lot of you probably know who he is. But you know, he came right out and he said exactly what I said. The end result of all this is to balkanize the U.S., to divide it up, and we're well underway. And I've been saying that that's going to happen for a long time. I mean, we're really there now already. Anyway, the central government's going to be dissolved eventually. It's going to go away, and Trump is positioning himself to be over the southern states when they balkanize, secede, or whatever. And I think he's right about that. I think this guy's right about that. And he was quoting a Soviet intel officer who was explaining how all this was going to work, who talked about it back in the 80s. And while I don't agree with the map, the way that they show that the division of the states is going to come about, I don't agree with that. I understand where the thought process was that did that, but we're beyond that now. It's going to be much more balkanized than that. There's going to be more than four. I mean, individual states like Texas are just going to go off on their own. So that's it's crazy. Yeah, I know about that, and that's happening all over the world. That's Guck majority. Oh, there you go. Guck Malparty again. Germany, the military puts deniers into hidden prisons. Yeah, I know. I know. Well, Jesus said they'll throw you into prison for my name's sake, right? Yeah, and they'll kill you. Yeah, and that's really exactly where we are. And I'm not going to get into all that. I've done a lot of information on the book of Revelation and how it relates to Ezekiel and Daniel in the past. You can go to my religion series and see some of that. Yeah. Hey, Hal, Alex and Mike are waking up after the fact. Too late. Damage has been done. Can't recover. Exactly what I said. even even if Trump turned around right now, he's already caused the damage to be irreversible. It can't be undone at this point. A lot of people apparently. Betty White, yeah, Betty White was one of my favorites, sort of. I won't get into that, but uh, the switch has been thrown, and we're going to see a lot of sadness over the next little while. People are going to start dropping like flies. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I mean, they already are. We just talked about this guy from the health insurance or the life insurance company, Scott Davison, the CEO of One America. Death rate is up by 40%. What took out Kev Baker? I don't know. Uh, they're probably saying, the sneezes. They're probably saying that. I doubt very seriously whether he would have submitted to the GMIs. However, there's the problem with shedding and all that. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, the death rates will be, yeah, that's just from last year, from the actuaries who did the studies last year. Probably as of right now, it's higher than that. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. Who said that? By the way, REC status or whatever. Yeah, Roosevelt's saying we don't know as yet how Kev Baker died. That's right. What? Who he had at least two jabs? Then who? How do you know that? I could be wrong. I could be right. Says he had at least two jabs then COVID. I don't see how. Well, he was in Britain, so they were requiring it. Yeah, it could be in that situation. Yeah, it could be. It could be that they, because of the requirements, they're actually doing it forcefully there. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, that could be. Robert Lazar saying breaking a massive out of control Russian rocket to slam into the earth. I don't know about that. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, that's right, Chris Hickson. Again, I'll be quiet. Betty White after 3 days of juice number 3. But she was, what, 99 years old anyway? I mean, wow. Yeah. Again, hi, Felicia. How you doing? Thanks for being here. Felicia put up a video, and I tweeted it out uh, today on this whole switch on that's happening on Wednesday. The switch of the, you know what that means, right? As Monty calls it, the 5-7. Yes, Sophia Contreras has got it. It's coming up on Wednesday. I think we're going to see a lot of bad stuff happen when that occurs too, especially people that have had the GMI. Although I think it'll probably affect a lot of us. I've had a headache for a couple of days, and it's not from this. Actually, this might help it. Um, yeah, and I think it's related to that as well. They've put. I noticed when they were putting it up, when they closed all the schools for that period of time, that they were putting them up around the schools. I called that when that happened. Somebody saying something happened to Max Egan. Sarah Brown. Well, I don't see it. I know who Max Egan is. He does some interesting productions, but I'm not into most of his subject matter. Okay, Roosevelt saying that the chat says that Kev was jabbed and then got it and died. Yeah, in Britain, because they were, yeah, it's being forced on people there. Yeah, so that's probably true, Roosevelt. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think he did it voluntarily. They probably forced it on him. And that's murder as far as I'm concerned. It's murder. They know this thing is that, and that's murder. We've been going for almost 50 minutes now. So Marty Lauderdale says it definitely was the jabs. Okay. Yeah. In other words, they killed Kev Baker to shut him up, forced him to put him in front of a firing squad. Essentially, is what they did to shut him up. Jesse, BP Earthwatch. Glad you're here, Jesse. Saying, pay attention to the market and banks. The entire world banking system knows they have overprinted and the paper collapses upon us any day. They will switch to digital, passport controlled. Yeah, you started talking about that actually last week. Well, you talked about it for a long time, Jesse. And yeah, you can smell this thing. They've got to use this whole pretense of a sneeze to use as the excuse to take down the entire world economy. And I'm not one that believes in consumerism, but these are the people that are calling it out now. I mean, as far as Davos and all that, are the same people that pushed ridiculously huge levels of consumerism for years. So they pushed it for years to get you to always want to buy something. Remember, even George W. Bush, right? After 9/11 says, "Oh, go shopping, help the economy, go shopping." Yeah, be consumers. So they push the consumerism, and now they're saying that it's bad, and they're going to shut it all off, right? So they use it both ways. They push it to get wealth, and then they stop it to get wealth. Well, I do believe that we're way too involved in consumerism. We should be happier with less, but that doesn't mean that technology should stop. But that's what they're going to do. They're going to keep it for themselves. And Jesse, you and I both know it. Max Egan left Australia and is in Mexico. He's getting his messages out on another channel. Oh, okay. Yeah, I did know that, actually. I did know that he went to Mexico. What has Trump done wrong? Moosey, what has Trump done wrong? I don't think you're paying attention. I'm not even going to go there tonight, Moosey. If you don't know, I feel bad for you. Um, Sam Spade, I can't speak for God. You know, all I'll say is that I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. I got my own problems that God's going to deal with. That's bad enough. What happened to them? I don't think it could be bad enough. And I know we're supposed to pray for people, and we're going to feel sorry when we see where they've gone. We're going to feel sorry for them. Well, people like Anthony Fauci, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind doing to him. With all right, you get the idea. Roosevelt talking to BP Earthwatch. The collapse of the life insurance companies from 40% rise in deaths will be the death blow. Roosevelt's very up on understanding the financial system, especially as it comes to companies and their investments and things like that, their payout, employers, stuff like that. So the fact that Roosevelt sees this and has put that out, I think that tells us it's imminent. And thank you, Jesse, and BP Earthwatch, and Roosevelt for keeping us up to date on that. Roosevelt's saying she's asking Marty Lauderdale to tweet the information out about the memorial show for tomorrow for Kev Baker. Oh well. No, Trump isn't going to change. No, Trump is a demon, and I loathe him. There are a few people. I mean, I could throw Fauci in there, and Gates, and even Biden. I mean, he was always a bad dude. But Trump pretended to be something he wasn't, and I loathe him. And AJ covered for him way too long. Yeah, exactly. Single single ply tech about Rand Paul needs to admit it. Yeah, but he hasn't, and I don't know why. Wow, Roosevelt. Remember, we were talking about that. So he was jabbed twice. Yeah. Okay. It's been 50 minutes. I think it's time for me to go. Sarah Brown's giving some information here, and I still don't know what it is. I gotta go back here and see if I can find whatever it is Sarah Brown's talking about because she's getting a bunch of accolades about something. I'm missing it, and I don't see what it is. Okay, military's not your friend. There might be individuals or even small units that are possibly our friends, but the DoD and the entire intelligence structure is our enemy. You know, I got to tell you this too. It's not that I'm important, it's that I've rubbed elbows with some of these people that are in like the CFR, etc. Some of the players during my military career, and I'm of some concern to the IC, which is one reason why, even though I get pretty um, bold on Twitter and on YouTube every once in a while, they've really only taken down a couple of my videos here on YouTube and suspended me once. And on Twitter, they've removed a lot of stuff, but they still haven't kicked me off there because they want to keep track of me. That if anybody wants to know, it's not because I'm deep state, and I'm really, controlled opposition. Anybody who knows my history knows there's no way in hell I'm controlled opposition. I've done entire videos just about that. But they still send honeypots my way. Uh, I'd like to tell you about the most recent one, but maybe I shouldn't in case I'm wrong. But yeah, weird stuff keeps happening. Weird stuff keeps happening. And they know my weakness, and I admit it. I'm not blackmailable because I know what my weakness is. Weakness is. I've got more than one. But I'm usually pretty good at spotting honeypots. And there have been a bunch of them. And one of them, I think I told you, is tall blondes. Tall, blonde, and curvy. Yeah, yeah. That's Sierra 5. Yeah, that's right. Well, if any of you have seen a picture of my wife, you'd know, right? And I've had her picture on here before, so yeah, very much so. Yeah, the IC knows my type. Yeah, they definitely do. Uh, I can vet them pretty well, and if this most recent one turns out to be another real estate agent, then I'll know. Now they're probably watching this and say, "Hey, don't say you're a real estate agent," to her. But I was. This has happened on numerous occasions. One, which is kind of a funny one. I've told this story before. I was in a Starbucks uploading a video because I used to go to different Starbucks to upload them, so I was never doing it from the same place. But I got lazy this time and I went to the same one like 2 or 3 times in a row. And this typical tall, curvaceous blonde walks in, sits down right next to me. So already my alerts are up. I mean, don't misunderstand me. I mean, she's attractive. There's some interest there, but I'm just never sure. And she was a little green. She was from the NSA, I'm pretty sure, down the street. This Salt Lake in particular is crawling with federal agents. They're everywhere. NSA down the street. They were just getting started at the time, and so they had all these green agents out there, doing things. So she starts talking to me. I thought, oh, this is nice. And then she starts asking me, well, what do you think of this at Bundy Ranch? And what do you think? And I said, well, how do you know about Bundy Ranch? And she says, well, because I watched the news. And I said, yeah, but how did you know I was at Bundy Ranch? And she's stumbling all over herself. And she was very attractive and very smart, and she, so I said to her, I said, I know you're a Fed, but I still like you. Would you like to go out to dinner? And I told this story before, and she turned bright red and couldn't get out of there fast enough. And I've told that story before. People are saying, "Gee, Roy, you tell the same stories over and over again." Well, that's because those are the ones I can get away with without sounding too like. Well, just the fact of the matter is, this type of thing happens a lot to me. I wish I could find one that wasn't, or that would throw her career away because you're not a bad guy, Roy. I think I will stick it out with you. It's just it's okay. There, Roy. There is a breaking news that a Russian rocket is lost in space and due to hit Earth in 2 days. Yeah, it'll burn up in the atmosphere. Don't be too concerned about it. They don't make it too far. Most of them break up in the upper atmosphere as they're coming back in. Okay, it's coming up on an hour. Thanks, everybody. To recap, the whole purpose of this thing was to talk about, uh, in the description box below are two links. The first is to the video by Scott Davison, who is the CEO of One America Insurance Company. He's saying that we're seeing the highest death rates ever, and they're up 40%, and primarily in the working age groups of 18 to 64. You can imagine what all this is about. It's not just from the sneezes, it's from the treatment to try to convince you that they can fix the sneezes, right? And then you can read between the lines, you know what I'm talking about. So that's in the description box, the first link. The second link is the link to Roosevelt's Twitter account. And I know if you don't have Twitter, you can't necessarily go there, but if you just go ahead and copy that link and paste it into your search engine, it will take you to that post and also Roosevelt's Twitter line. So that was my purpose for coming on. Uh, it's not that they didn't know this was going to happen. It's that the information is getting out now that this is really the matter, and it is affecting the banks and the insurance industry, and it's also indicative of their willingness to take us down. Okay, I heard Patriot Nurse say today that she thinks that God's going to give those that follow him a double portion of abundance this year. I hope she's right. It would be nice to have that balance from what they away from us, take it away from them and give it back to the people. But I don't see that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope she's right, but I don't see that. I think we're going to be seeing some very tough times, and it's starting right away. Okay. All right, everybody. Y'all take care. We'll talk to you again later. Oh, cheers. For those of you who are out here having a little refreshment with me, liquid courage or whatever you want to call it. Here's to all of you, and we'll see you next time. Roosevelt says it. The shit is about to hit the fans, y'all. Jesse's been talking about that, etc., etc. Yep. Lockhart perspective. Okay. Out of here.